a new topic for me. And this is at a stage where it's great for us to get some feedback. So please, everybody, feel free to give us any feedback and ask any questions. So the title is Raising the Rainbow Flag, Impact of LGBTQ plus Safety Cues on Service Provider Selection. And I want to acknowledge my two awesome co-authors, Mert Satin from Rotterdam School of Management of Erasmus University in the Netherlands, and Priyank Arora from the Dollar Moore School of Business at the University of South Carolina. So again, I'm Dorothee Honhon, and it's a pleasure to be here. So this paper is about safety cues for the LGBTQ community. So as all of you probably know, LGBTQ plus stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus. And I'm going to show you some statistics. Maybe you're not aware that the percentage of people who say they are members of the LGBTQ community in the US is currently, or as of 2024, 9.3%. So it's quite significant. And especially if you start breaking down at age groups, younger people, Gen Z people born between 97 and 2006, it's almost a quarter of Gen Z people that self-identify as members of the community. So it's very significant and becoming even more significant. Despite this growing visibility and obviously the economic contributions of the LGBT community, there's also the fact that the members are more likely to suffer from suicide or drug use or report more mental health issues. Again, more mental health issues among the youth, discrimination, stigma. This is about the fact that they're more likely to report that they feel that they're treated worse than non-LGBT people. Teens are more likely to suffer from bullying in school if they're gay or lesbian. And this is like actual violence against members of the community is a real issue. So there are all these issues, one more with substance abuse and drug use also more likely. And then to bring it closer to the subject of the paper, this final graph shows that the members of the LGBTQ community are more likely to report negative experiences with dealing with a healthcare provider than non-LGBT. So this is really what inspires our paper, because we're going to be looking at the context of a service provider, one of them being a doctor, and the perception of safety cues such as the little rainbow flag. So there's adverse impact to clients in service systems. All of this points to fear of stigmatization, judgment, outright discrimination, which makes it so that members of the LGBT community may not share everything they need to share with their doctor or more generally service provider. That could lead to bad care or discontinuity in care and worse health outcomes. For students, there's evidence that leads to higher truancy and lower performance scores because of this fear of stigma and judgment. So support and exclusivity of service providers is important. It plays a role in inducing feelings of more comfort and less fear in LGBTQ clients. So I want to ask everybody here, what does this symbol mean to you, right? So this little rainbow flag, think about what it means to you. If you see it just here on the slide, typically most people associate this rainbow flag with gay pride or the support for the LGBT community or symbol of pride for the LGBT community. Now, I want you to think about this flag. These are other versions of the flag. Nowadays, they're come in many different forms, but always the fun rainbow colors are present. Now, if you see this flag, for example, here, this is a page from a platform where you can select a doctor. So say you're looking for a new doctor and you move to a new area, you're looking for a new doctor, you look at different doctors on this platform, you'll see a redacted their name, their expertise, some ratings, and then here in the corner, you see a little rainbow flag next to the specific doctor, and it says LGBTQIA plus health. So here, there's an extra meaning to this flag being in the context of a service provider next to their name. And what it means in this context is that this person is committed to offer an inclusive environment in the practice. They have probably done an actual training, obtained a certification to say that they are inclusive and they know how to provide no discrimination in their practice, specifically towards LGBTQ members. So this is an example of a safety cue, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this research. We're looking at the impact of these safety cues, such as the rainbow flag. What they convey is allyship, so probably means the service provider is an ally of the LGBTQ plus community, demonstrating support and guaranteeing rights and equality. Further, it's called safe space training, or safe and inclusive space training, is an actual certification that they can go through to obtain the certification and the right to display the sticker, and probably on their office door they also have a bigger sticker that communicates to the world that they are committed to providing a welcoming and non-judgmental environment for LGBT clients specifically, but in general also for all minorities, treating everybody equal. These safety cues, we believe they are good to guarantee a better matching between supply and demand, so people can find the doctor that's right for them, and this is helpful. And in the context of today's world, where there's more and more such platforms, mostly digital platforms, the doc platform like ZocDoc is a platform where you can look for a doctor. There's also Coursera if you're looking for a course instructor. TaskRabbit is something where you can use to find somebody to work and do projects in your house. So there's more and more of these digital platforms. There are more and more opportunities to show these safety cues to people looking for a service provider. And we believe that our research also answers a call for more inclusive operations that was placed in 2025 because we look at the specific question. So here are our research questions. We are going to look, this is an experimental paper, so I'm about to describe to you an experiment that we did. And the research questions are the following. Does the presence of the rainbow flag increase or decrease the likelihood of a service provider being selected in the presence or absence of the client's most desirable attributes? Also, how does the effect of the rainbow flag on the selection process vary by the client's characteristics? And then, what do our findings mean for platforms where clients select service providers regarding the use of these safety cues? Like, should they use them or not? We'll provide a recommendation. So in terms of a literature review, I'll go quick, but basically we fit in different streams of research. We're connected to the effect of diversity on the workforce and operational decisions. Also, there's literature on the effect of race, gender, vulnerability of clients on operational outcome. There's some literature on the effect of social identity cues on choice behavior. But within the OM community, there's a starting branch of literature. It's still very small that looks at the interface of the LGBTQ plus community in operations management, and that's where we stand. And we're hoping that this is a topic that's going to gain momentum and more people will be interested in working in this area. Okay, so this is again an experiment that we ran. So I'm going to describe to you the setup of the experiment. It was conducted on Prolific, which is now the platform pretty much everybody uses to run experiments. There's a feature on the platform that we used that allowed us to have a guarantee that the subject pool would be representative of the US population. So this means that Prolific guarantees us that the proportions in terms of age, gender, and ethnicity match the population. So the main task was for our participants to select service providers that were best suited for them. there were 3 categories. We did primary care doctor, course instructor, and personal fitness trainer. And each time the service providers had different attributes. So we ran the experiments multiple times. The main one, we used what we call relational attributes. So the possible attributes for these 3 service providers were good communicator, compassionate, or experienced. And then we ran a different treatment where we had more operational attributes. That's what one of the referees suggested. And there, the attributes were affordable, highly available, or problem solver. But what matters here is that service providers had different attributes, and our subjects, our participants, had to tell us how much they cared about each attributes and then select based on the attributes of the service providers. And the main intervention we had, excuse me, was that sometimes certain service providers had a little rainbow flag next to their name. And prior to showing the rainbow flag, we didn't say anything to our subjects about it. We didn't tell them what it means. We didn't ask them what they think of it. It just popped up at some point within the experiment that some of the doctors, course instructors, and fitness trainers had rainbow flags and others didn't, just like we saw in this example earlier. Okay, so more in detail on the experimental design, there were 3 phases in our experiment. In the first phase, we asked the participants to rank the attributes in order of most important to least important to them. And they had to do the ranking 3 times, once for a doctor, once for a course instructor, and once for a personal trainer, because it could be different based on the service. So here, for example, for a doctor, so for me personally, what I care the most for my primary care doctor is that they would have good communication skills. I would put that first as my top attribute. And then second, compassion would be second most important to me. Experience to me is less important. Actually, like younger people better. So for me, my top is communication skills. My middle is compassion, and my bottom attribute is experience. So I would have, in the experiment, they could rank, move them to obtain the desired ranking. And again, they did it 3 times. Once asked for a doctor, once for a course instructor, and once for a personal trainer. In phase 2, they were asked to make choices. So the choices appeared like this. Each time there were 3 possible service provider with attributes for each service provider, and some of them had a little rainbow flag. And again, it just popped out of nowhere without explanation given to them before. And they had to choose one of the 3 in each round. And then in phase 3, we asked them some demographic questions. So we asked them for their age, their gender, their occupation, their ethnicity, their sexual orientation, their zip code, and I think that's about it. And then we asked them some open-ended questions. So after having made all the choices, we asked them, explain the rationale behind your choices. And there, people were free to mention the flag or not. Many people did. I'll show you some examples of what they typed. It was an open-ended question. Some people mentioned it, others didn't. And then we specifically asked them, how do you understand the meaning of this flag? Also, there were multiple choice options. And then we asked them, how do you understand the concept of safe space training and straight ally? Those were open-ended questions people typed. Some people typed a little bit, some people typed a lot, and we analyzed their answers. So again, 3 phases. Phase 2 is the main one. That's what took the most time, making the selections. So looking again at phase 2, they did it in total 30 times. So they were 10 times selecting a doctor, 10 times selecting a course instructor, 10 times selecting a personal trainer. And each time, 3 options, so A, B, and C, and each service provider having 2 attributes. And again, there are 3 possible attributes. Here, this is displayed for their relational attributes. So the options are good communicator, compassionate, or experienced. And then some had the flag, some didn't. And sometimes there were two options with the flag, sometimes zero, sometimes one, sometimes three. Everything was possible. We really mixed and matched so that everything was evenly shown. What's important here is that it was dynamic in what they saw. So here for the doctor, you see Doctor 2A, 2B, 2C. This is round 2 of doctors. What different subjects saw could be different, but what's in terms of the words, but it was consistent in terms of their own ranking. So to me, I told you earlier, I prefer my top attribute for a doctor is good communicator. My middle attribute is compassionate, and my bottom attribute is experienced. So if I saw this, it means that everybody in round 2 for doctors saw their top. Dr. 2A had top and bottom. Dr. 2B had bottom and middle. Dr. 2C had middle and top. So that was the same for everybody, but based on what was your top, your middle, and your bottom, you would see different words. So that's really important. Any questions on that so far? Okay, so in terms of payment, so this is a paid incentivized experiment. The way the subjects were paid was purely based on consistency with their ranking. So if I told you that I care most about communication skills, then compassionate, then experience, I need to make choices based on that because I need to be truthful to my stated ranking. So we looked at how consistent they were in the choices they made with the ranking that they told us they had. And then there was a portion of the payment that was also random. So $1 was a random part to it. Obviously, the subjects were informed that this is how they were going to be paid. Like the important part was to be consistent. And even more important, what we want to stress is that the rainbow flag had nothing to do with the payment. We informed them of the payment before they start seeing flags, and clicking on somebody with or without a flag was never an extra reward or penalty in their payment scheme. All we cared about, it was the consistency in terms of the attributes, the relational attributes, good communicator, compassionate, and experience. That's all that mattered. The flag was not taken into account in the payment scheme. Okay. We also did some robustness checks. So the status of the paper is resubmitted. We got some referee reports. Based on the referee reports, we did some extra experiments. So we have 2 robustness checks. One is we did an experiment with no flag. So everybody there just saw attributes. There was never a rainbow flag. What we were testing there was to see if the level of consistency of those subjects would be similar to the ones who have seen the flag. And the answer is yes. The score in terms of consistency was almost exactly the same, within 5.5%. So we are confident that people understood the task in all the experiments we ran. They understood how they were going to be paid. They were looking for service providers that would match their ranking. And then we also did what's called a placebo experiment. And this is to test if the effect that we saw with the flag had to do with the flag itself and what it means versus with the fact that there was a symbol there. Maybe it was just a symbol effect and not so much the fact that it was a rainbow flag. So we did the same experiment with a different symbol, and it's a little red cross like this one. In the same way, we did inform the participants prior to running the experiment that there would be a cross, and we just did it for doctors, right? So it's kind of has a medical meaning, but we didn't explain it, and we asked people to choose between doctors, and some of them had the cross, some didn't. Okay. So here's our data. So the main experiment we ran had the relational attributes, and that's, again, compassionate, good communicator, and experienced. And then we had a follow-up experiment also with the operational attributes, highly affordable, affordable, highly available, and problem solver. So 569 participants in the main experiment, plus an extra 100. On average, took 15 minutes for people to take our experiment. Average payoff was about $3, and they were fairly consistent. So 80% is a consistency score. So they chose according to what they said mattered to them. In terms of data, you have about 50% female, 46% male, and the rest is non-binary with no answer. 17% of our sample were LGBT. My computer is frozen. Just one sec.
In between, there is a question.
Yeah, okay.
In the chat box also said, does it matter to show only 2 top attributes list as opposed to 3?
So because there was 3, we needed to see everybody would have all 3 if there were 3 attributes, right? So there's only 3 possible attributes. So to distinguish doctors, we had to say that each had 2 out of 3, right? So otherwise they would all be the same. But yeah, does that answer your question? Yes, okay. In terms of ages, you see here the distribution, which again, it matches the population distribution. So methodology-wise, we use a conditional logic choice model, which is the standard way to approach when people make choices between alternatives. So this is the famous formula for logic model. So this is the probability that participant I would choose service provider J, and it's based on a utility function. And what we have as independent variables, if 3 of them, is top ij is 1 if the service provider J had in the list of their attribute, the top one for participant I. Is bottom is 1 if that service provider J had the bottom attribute for participant I. And then is flag is 1 if there was a flag, 0 if there was no flag. So this is how we analyze the choices. So I'm ready to show you the main results. Okay, main result for our main experiment where we pool all our 569 subjects in the first 2 columns and then extra 100 people with the operational attributes. So the main number to look at is what's now being revealed. It is the coefficient of is flag. So negative means a negative perception of the flag. So negative and significant means that people are less likely to click on a service provider that has the little rainbow flag. And if it's true in both experiments, even more negative when we used operational attributes than when we use the relational attributes. So in terms of likelihood of selection, it's telling us that the presence of the flag overall across our entire sample decreases the odds of selection by 16.4%, for relational attribute 22.3%. So big percentages. So it's perceived overall negatively. Now let's dig and see what we can see under that overall result. First, let's look by gender. So if you separate people, women, men, non-binary, suddenly the coefficient for women is no longer significant. So from that, we see that women don't really see that as negative or positive. They don't really care about the flag, but men, it's very strongly, significantly negative. In fact, it translates into decreasing the odds of selection by 31% for male. If we look by age, so this is a plot that shows us the coefficient, this is the 0 line, as we look at our participants, certain age and younger. So to start seeing that the coefficient would no longer be negative and significant, we have to do 25 and younger. So this is saying that participants 25 and under or younger do not see a significant negative or positive impact of, it's positive, but it's not significant of the rainbow flag. So young people don't see it as something negative, but we have to go as young as less than 25. Let's look at other characteristics also to see the impact. So in terms of race and ethnicity, we see that it's negative and significant for everyone except Black participants, where it was not significant. In terms of voting patterns, so here I need to be careful. In our main experiments, we didn't ask people, are you Republican or Democrat or independent? but we got their zip codes. So from their zip code, we can see if they live in a Republican-leaning county or Democrat-leaning county. Now, obviously, it's not guaranteed that they themselves are of that political affiliation, but that's what we used. And in the end, we don't see any significant impact here. The next thing we looked at is openness. So openness to experience is a famous measure that apparently a lot of people use in experiments. It's you answer these 6 questions on a scale of 1 to 5, and it gives you a score out of 5 of how open to experience you are, open to new things in life. It's widely recognized good measure of openness. And so if we look at our subjects based on their score, so in phase 3, we did ask them to answer these questions. So we have their openness score, and we see that people who are very open, the coefficient is no longer negative and significant. So it's nice to see that. And then another thing we looked at is awareness. So in terms of awareness of LGBTQ plus topics. So what this means is in phase 3, remember we asked them, what does the flag mean to you? What is the meaning of the rainbow flag to you? We also asked them, what does straight ally mean to you? What does safe space training mean to you? So we asked all of that in phase 3 in the main experiment. And these are the answers that are provided below. And so we analyzed their answers. For the last 2, these were open-ended answers. So we spent the time to read everything. Priyanka and I did it separately. And we asked a third person, a graduate assistant, to also do it. And we compiled everything and did a composite score of awareness for all of our participants, which measures how aware are they of these topics. If somebody answered everything correctly, they got a score of 1. If somebody answered everything incorrectly, it's 0. So it's between 0 and 1. So coming back, we see that people who are highly aware, so they understand these topics, do see actually the flag as a positive thing, and it's positive and significant for them. But partial and lower awareness remains negative. I'm going to pause here for another second. Any other questions?
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, obviously, yes.
Oh, sorry. This is a very good study, so very interesting too. So just based on the overall results, does that mean high awareness is a very small portion of the total participants? Like there are only like maybe
Yes.
20%
I
or
don't remember
less?
top of my head what percentage. My co-authors, feel free to jump in if you remember the percentage of people that had high awareness, um, or what the average awareness score was. But yes, this would indicate that most people fell into more like partial awareness or
I
lower awareness.
see. Very interesting. I wonder what's their narrative like why it triggers it, but probably you'll cover that later. So
Yeah, I have a
since
theory, but if you have one, feel free to share because I want to.
I probably not right now, but I do have a couple more questions. I can save it to the end, or you want me to ask
No,
now?
anytime you want. Now is a
Uh,
good time.
sure. Because you have 3 phases of the experiment, it's very smart. But my question is, do you see attrition in different phases? Because that was one of a biggest concern for like different phases of experiment. Like if you have differential attrition, because when they see, oh, I'm not going to answer this question, and then we don't capture their behaviors. You didn't see that?
No, most people finish everything. We were very clear that payment was conditional to completing everything.
The complete
Even though
everything.
phase 2 is what we looked at for the actual payment amount, if they didn't complete all the questions at the end in phase 3, they wouldn't get the money. So I'm I don't want to say everybody for sure, but almost everybody completed everything. And very surprisingly, the open-ended questions, some people wrote a lot and it was not part of their payment. So they took the time to write sometimes like entire long paragraphs to give us some feedback in phase 3, even though they were not paid for that. So it was encouraging.
That's really interesting because I really like experimental studies, and I've been trying to learn about this what they call narrative experiment.
Mhm.
So it's a new econ method. What they try to do is they use very lengthy, open-ended question, and they try to map narrative, like what kind of story in your head give you a positive or negative feeling. So can we tweak a little bit of what goes into that story to change your belief on certain outcomes? So maybe that could be a potential follow-up. It's just a thought. So
Yeah, thank you. I'm writing it down. That's true. You'll see later, I'll show you some examples of open-ended comments that they left. And we did spend some
excellent.
time to analyze, is this positive? Is it neutral? Is it negative towards the flag? So we did some of that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
So I see Austin's questions. Do these
Yeah.
results hold? Oh, did you have? Okay.
Yeah,
Austin?
sorry. Yeah, I will just ask them
Yeah, just go ahead.
yeah, so do these results hold if we do a lab experiment in a school and match the setting?
We don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah.
don't know.
The second one will be like, can you try transgender flag? Because that is something that is very important also for me. And like I would really love to know what would the populace think about this. And it kind of makes it all fully complete the full rainbow flag.
Yes, my guess is that few people are even aware of what the transgender flag is, and so it would be interesting. And I'm going to show you also a separate experiment where we made the subjects aware before, so it would be even more interesting, I think, to do with transgender flag. And I agree with you that it's also super important.
Very nice. And are there any mechanisms that we can try to alleviate the negative effect? Because right
So
now
let's see.
yeah.
I have an
Okay,
answer for that.
okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
So
Thank
just
you. All right.
yeah.
Look forward to it.
So Mark, my co-author, just added the awareness number. He said around 17% of people had full awareness. So it's a minority of people that really understood these topics well.
Hi, Dorothy. This is Jessie. I just have a quick hi. I might have missed this, but I think you identified some of the participants belong to the LGBTQ community themselves. So is there a difference between the non-LGBTQ and
It's
the
about to come. I think it's on
okay.
the slide or in 2 slides. Yes.
All right. Yeah, because I'm thinking you showed the young people are more open to the flag. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'm sure you're probably going to
Exactly.
reveal the answer. Okay, I'll wait
Yes, you
till
have the
later.
right intuition. Yes.
Yep. Thanks.
Let me see if it's, yes, that's the next slide. So we separated LGBT participants based on what they told us in phase 3 and non-LGBT. And so now let's look at the coefficient. And as you would expect, a positive and significant coefficient for is flag for people who are members of the community. They see it as a positive thing. It makes them 70% more likely to click on a service provider that has a rainbow flag. So it's actually very positive for them. So I told you about this robustness check we did based on the comments we got from the referees. They wanted us to make sure that the effects that we see have really to do with the meaning of the flag being, gay pride and gay movement versus a symbol thing. Like there was a certain symbol that was there and people would react in a similar way to any little symbol. So we did a robustness check with this Red Cross just for doctors in a small experiment with 100 people. And we saw with the Red Cross, we have an actual positively significant coefficient. So people seeing the Red Cross are more likely to click on that doctor that has a Red Cross because they see it as something positive. We looked at the comments they gave us because we also asked them, how did you perceive this little Red Cross? And they gave us some feedback on that. Some people would say things like, well, I didn't really know what it meant. I assumed it meant this was a doctor with higher ratings, or that the doctor was attached to a hospital, or that doctor had better certifications. So some usually positive things that they would associate with the cross. And when we separate them in those people who said it was positive, cross equal to 1, or those people who said something kind of positive, cross between 0 and 1, we do see positive and significant. So with that other symbol, totally opposite effect. It is perceived without being explained in the same way as the rainbow flag. It just popped out of nowhere. They did click on it more likely than if it wasn't there. Which is great support for the robustness of our findings that what we see with the rainbow flag really has to do with the meaning of the flag and not just the symbol. Also, we looked at excluding LGBTQ plus participants when we look at the age. So if you look earlier, I had the same graph. So when I look at the effect of the flag for a certain age and younger, and lower than 25, with everybody combined, it was positive. Now, if I exclude the LGBTQ plus participants, for 25 and under, it is still negative and significant. So what we learned from this is the reason it was positive under 25 is because under 25, there's a lot of young people who themselves are LGBT and they view it as positive. But if you remove them, the people remaining who are not LGBT, they see it as a negative thing too. So it's the positive effect is really driven by the fact that a big proportion, almost a quarter of Gen Z are reporting being members of the community. We also have some results looking at the different server types. So again, we had doctor, course instructor, and personal trainer. I wanted to see if the effect would be different for different types of service providers. And what we see is that it's more negative. It decreases the odds of selection by more for the personal trainer and least for the course instructor. And the doctor is kind of in the middle. And we venture that it's something to do with closeness with the person. I guess your personal trainer is really close to you. Your course instructor might be far away on a lectern. But overall, still negative and significant across all three types. So let me show you some of the open-ended comments we received to this question. So how did you decide between the three options? Okay. So there are comments like this one. I'm just going to choose read the first one. I tried to stay true to my values and give preference for my initial choices. I always went for the feature that would benefit me the most. I do not care about any sexual preference, so it wasn't a factor. So this person we classified as being neutral to the flag from their comments. But then we also had these comments. So here, I picked the one with the options, top two priorities. And when the option was available, I preferred to choose the option where the sexuality was unknown or straight. Or this guy said, I tried to choose the ones that didn't have that dumb rainbow flag on them. So we did have some comments like that are very negative. This is not the worst. But yeah, so some people we classified as having a positive view of the flag in their answer to that question or a negative view of the flag. But what this told us is that the people on the left, the people on the right, where the sexuality was unknown, to us, they don't understand what the flag means. They mean that they think it means that the doctor themselves is saying to the world that they're gay, and I'm like, this has nothing to do with my choice. They don't understand that it means safe space training, that this person is committed to no discrimination. So from that, and also based on the comments from the referees, we decided to run another experiment where this time we're going to bring awareness to them, because maybe the negative coefficient is due to them not understanding what the flag means, which these comments tend to suggest. So now the difference is in phase 1, instead of in phase 3, we ask them the questions about what is the meaning of the flag? What is the meaning of safe space training? What is the meaning of straight ally? So they had to tell us that in phase 1. And then no matter what the answers were, we gave them the correct definitions. So this is what the flag means. This is what safe space training means. This is what straight ally means. We forced them to read that by making sure they couldn't click away from the screen for a certain number of seconds. And then in phase 3, after they made choices, we tested them just to make sure they understood these concepts. There was multiple choice questions, and it was a right or wrong answer here. So the difference here is we made everybody aware. Certainly some people were already aware of what the flag meant, safe space training meant, but by bringing awareness, we brought them all to awareness status and they made their choices. At least we brought 84 of them to knowledge status because some people failed the knowledge test in phase 3. They still didn't understand what safe space training meant. But 84 of them passed it. And so here are the results. Full means we kept everybody. Filtered means we only kept the 84 people who passed the test. And now we're going to see the is-flag coefficient. It's no longer negative and significant, especially when we look at all the people who passed the test. So they were made aware of what the flag would mean. It's no longer negative and significant. It's in fact not significant. So once the participants were made aware of the meaning of the rainbow flag, it becomes insignificant, which is great news. Like we just need to tell people what it means, and its negative perception almost vanishes. So takeaways, we believe that displaying LGBTQ plus safety cues like the rainbow flag can significantly influence consumer behavior positively or negatively, depending on the audience. Overall, when you looked at the entire sample, the presence of the rainbow flag decreases the odds of selection by 16.4 to 22.3%, much stronger effect on men than women. It's more positively viewed by younger clients and those that have high LGBTQ plus awareness. They understand these concepts. And it's about neutral for Black people and people who scored high in the openness metrics, openness to experience. We see that for LGBTQ people themselves, it's very positive. It increases their likelihood of selection by 70%. And then finally, bringing awareness to the meaning of the rainbow flag and the safe space training concept seems to be getting rid of the negative effect. So we just need to tell people what it means. They were probably just mistaken in thinking that they were signaling their sexuality, and they thought that's not something that was useful to them. I have a couple more slides, but I think I have time to show you a little video that I think is very sweet and very to the topic of the paper. It just lasts about like 4 minutes. So I'm just going to play this video if that's okay. There you go. I think it's a very sweet video that was made for the Oslo Pride. So it's a Norwegian video, and it shows the positive impact that these safety cues can make on everyday people's lives. So to conclude, what are implications for service systems from our findings? We find that these safety cues can deter some customers unless inclusion is a core organizational value. But we see that education and bringing awareness to the meaning of the safety cues can remove the negative perception by some clients. We believe that support and inclusivity of service provider matters to LGBTQ customers, and we show this with our numbers, who represent a growing segment of the population and who are the most likely to suffer from discrimination, bullying, mental health problems, etc. So it seems like a one-size-fits-all approach with regard to social identity signals may backfire in certain context, depending on especially conservative environment. So what we recommend, so here are sort of, where do we go from there? Do our findings imply that we should remove all safety cues? No, we don't believe so. They're very useful for people that value them. Could they help change people's minds in the long run? Yes, maybe. So another reason not to remove them. And then, but then we acknowledge that in some contexts they could create pushback and more polarization. So what we recommend is if it's a possibility for some platform, if you have cookies and you know something about your clients, to decide to display them to certain people based on what you know of them, and not others, maybe younger people, it's safe, but older people, not. So some kind of dynamic selection and decision based on what you know of your clients is a recommendation. So I think that's all we have. So ready to take any other questions.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. This was such an exciting, such a thought-provoking presentation.
Thank you. That's what I hope to hear.
Sharing it. Any questions from my audience?
My
One
final
thing
question. Sorry, Muge, you can go ahead first, then I will ask. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what can we actually do then to have, instead of a neutralizing effect, then it can actually have a positivizing or like a improved impact, because that's actually the goal that we hope from LGBTQ plus operations and marketing and business in general.
Right. So I think it really is bringing awareness, right? So as more and more people understand that this is really a signal of a safe place for everybody. And in fact, looking at the comments, there were many people who said it means a safe environment for all minorities. So it's not just LGBTQ plus. So it just generally shows somebody who's compassionate, who's a good person. So the more we spread the message out there, I think eventually we'll see it become a positive signal for everybody. And I think it starts with the younger generation. And I think I have two kids who, are super friendly. They don't really talk about gender in the same way that we do, older people. So I'm very hopeful that the younger generation will click more likely on somebody who has a flag. And if they're not LGBT themselves, they'll say, oh, this is just a good person, a compassionate person, and I want that as my doctor, right? So I think bringing awareness, education, spreading the word, I think that's my answer.
You.
Hi, Dorothy. This is Jessie again.
Hi, Jessie.
So I'm thinking one, I guess, extension is to see how the visual cue can help LGBTQ community to actively seek help. Because in your experiment, I think they have to choose one of the three doctors, right?
Yes.
So maybe if there's, I'm just thinking, maybe if there's like outside option, so they can choose to skip this round. So I think that would be a real concern for a lot of LGBTQ group because they don't think the doctor's for them and they just delay the treatment or not go to the doctor. So I think this might even see a bigger impact in terms of how to help them to actively seek help.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the idea of an outside option was also mentioned by one of the referees. It sounds familiar. So I think we should definitely consider that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Maybe along the same lines, I was gonna not ask, but just I don't know if you guys already talk about this. The fact that you tie the monetary reward to the making this selection based on your first round choices, right? So you already said you want the best experience. So some participants may hold back their prejudices just to give the correct answer so they get paid well. So your results may be even more significant if you didn't tie the first round answers. Does that make sense? So because, okay, so I'm a woman, I'm scared of giving the wrong answer and not getting paid, but I have a terrible prejudice against LGBT, but I will still pick that doctor because I already said experience is the most important thing and the correct answer is this LGBTQ doctor. I still have to click on that.
So no, the
Yeah,
way
thank
we
you.
did the calculations is that it was never rewarded nor penalized to click on the flag. So the only way you could lose points on consistency is if it was very obviously a dominated option that you chose, regardless of the flag.
Yeah.
So
So
if
that's
say there's like two doctors with this flag, no flag, and so it was just based on the attributes.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm saying. So some people who are even worse may be picking the correct choice with the flag, but they wanted to internally.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Make the
Because it
other.
wasn't clearly said to them that, okay.
Yes, so I think this is like a lower bound results for you guys. Your
That's good.
results
Okay.
have been a lot more stronger because some people may have hold back their internal negative thoughts just to pick the correct answer and get paid, or just competitiveness, whatever they have in making their choices.
It's a good
Answer
point.
these questions. Does that make sense? So I think
absolutely. Yeah, I understand what you mean now. And so absolutely. So it makes our results even stronger. So
yeah,
we should
even
mention
more
that.
important because
Because they were not told anything about the flag in terms of the payment. So they could think
exactly.
maybe,
Yes, so the results may be even more negative, which is worse. I mean,
but then, let's educate them. Let's
Yes.
bring them the true meaning. Yeah.
Correct. But yeah, I mean, even with the purpose of choosing the correct choice, you got negative results.
Right. Yes.
So yeah.
Good point. Very good point.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Good work. I mean, somebody has to go out there and collect these facts, right? So we just talk about it among ourselves, but these are facts. Nobody can say anything. This is it. This is where we are. So let's solve.
But yeah, I think the future is bright. So it's brighter. Is hope. Yes. More inclusion, more acceptance.
Another question? So maybe it is time to wrap it up. Thank you so much. Priyank, do you want to add anything?
Maybe I'll send the paper to Chow. I just wanted to say that the tone analysis which we did actually has some nuances. So maybe he can look at our appendix, which I'll share with him. Yeah.
Yeah, like
So I want to thank Dorothee once again for this truly insightful and thought-provoking presentation, and all of you for joining us. We learned today that awareness matters. It matters a lot, and these insights deepen our understanding of the customer behavior. It is also important to emphasize the role of values, identity, and how signaling affects the customer choices in service interactions. So it's important to continue this kind of research. And thank you all for being a good part of Service Science Section's online forum webinar, and we hope to see you all again at our upcoming presentation. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for coming.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.